an experiment that took place in 1947 at a clandestine Soviet test site. 5 inmates who were considered enemies of the state were placed in a gas chamber that was shut off, and they were continuously given an experimental gas-based stimulant compound to keep them awake for 30 straight days as part of a military-approved scientific experiment. The inmates were given the false assurance that if they finished the experiment within the allotted 30 days, they would be released from custody. During the first 5 days, the subjects conducted themselves as usual, conversing with one another and whispering to the researchers through the one-way glass, albeit it was noted that the topics of their conversations grew progressively more sinister. After 9 days, one subject started screaming violently 4 hours, while the others remained silent. The man yelled for so long that his vocal cords were torn, leaving him mute. When the second one began to cry, the others covered the porthole windows with their own feces and ripped book pages to keep the researchers from peering inside. The room stayed silent for a few days, during which time the researchers were unable to peer inside. In order to determine whether the individuals were still alive, the researchers activated the intercom. They received a brief answer from a subject expressing compliance. The decision was made by the researchers to stop using the stimulating gas and reopen the chamber on the 15th day. For fear of nodding off, the individuals did not want the gas to go out. When they peered inside, they saw that the 4 survivors had practiced lethal and severe mutilation and disembowelment on themselves over the previous days. This included tearing off portions of skin and muscles, removing several abdominal internal organs, practicing self-cannibalism as well as cannibalism of the second subject, and allowing 10 centimeter or 4 inches of blood and water to accumulate on the floor by jamming paper and pieces of flesh they tore from the second subject. One soldier who attempted to remove the victims was killed, and another was seriously hurt, as the subjects resolutely refused to leave the chamber and urged the researchers to keep giving them the stimulant. It was also discovered that the subjects would all pass away if they fell asleep. The 3 patients who were still alive were prepared to enter the gas chamber with the stimulant on the military leader's orders, contrary to the researchers' wishes, even though the EEG or electroencephalogram monitors showed repeated short periods of brain death in the subjects. One of the victims passed away while asleep, just before the chamber was sealed, and the only survivor who could talk screamed for the chamber to be sealed right away. The military commander gave the order to lock the 2 remaining subjects and 3 additional researchers inside the chamber. The mute subject and the commander were both shot in the head by one of the researchers, who then withdrew his weapon and fled the room. The researcher was scared and said he would not allow himself to be imprisoned in a room with monsters that could no longer be called people, with only 1 subject left. In response to his urgent question, the subject grinned and said that he and the other fallen subjects were an inherent evil in human minds that was held in check by sleeping. The subject whispered his last words, so nearly free, as he lay dying on the floor after the researcher shot him in the heart.